somewhere now, I don't know where. You may proceed. Thank you. I'll call the November 1st, 2021 meeting of the Utilities Committee to order. And can we get an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion on the agenda, approval of the agenda.
Thank you. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. We had a chance to look at last meeting's notes. We need an approval of those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Pass it. All right. Water and sewer audit. I guess Ashley's back. We get to see her again.
Ron, take it away
I
from
can barely hear you guys.
talk.
What's that, Tim?
Take it away from the mic so you don't get all that.
Okay. He can't, he's working.
I got it here. Why don't you give one to Tim so you can follow?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So we kind of slowed down on the audit, just as we're trying to wrap up a lot of projects right now. Just time hasn't been fully committed to that, just the past couple of months. But we have had a lot of new constructions going on, so we have had, we still have sewer taps coming in. So the number of properties audited hasn't changed. It's still 5,348. The number of properties connected during the audit process is 190. And the number of properties connected ahead of being audited was 82. So that gave us a total number of 272 connections since this audit process began. And there's 9 properties pending right now.
Good.
Then hopefully, once things slow down a little bit, I can work on that dashboard that we're kind of talking about and getting it up so that way.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt just for a second. Ashley and Eric, can you guys go back and, we got Tim here, he's a new staff member. Talk about what a sewer audit is and then talk a little bit about what the dashboard and whatnot is as well. That way people that are listening in can kind of get up to speed with us.
So in, I believe it was 2017, we created a sewer master plan. And so it kind of audited the village limits and showed what properties were connected to sewer, what properties were on septic tanks. And so our goal is to get everybody who is on septic tanks connected to sewer. And we moved through this audit process by, I think there's like 40 plus different zones. And so there are priorities of 1, 2, and 3. And so we're moving through each priority zone. And if any road falls into that priority zone, we do that, we audit that whole road. So that way, whenever we send out letters, it's not like a neighbor is getting a letter to connect to sewer, and then this person doesn't have to connect for like another year. So we're just kind of going through and auditing the whole village. And so on the map, all the light blue areas, those are areas that we've already audited. And then the red stripes, those are areas that we're avoiding right now until the FEMA sewer line's completed, and at which point we will go ahead and audit them. They are a priority 1 service area. And so what I've been working on while doing this audit is we get a lot of calls from realtors or people just wanting to know if a property is available to sewer, is it connected to sewer? And so to kind of help mitigate that, so that we're not getting a lot of paper, we created a dashboard. And so it's just color coded, so it's just gonna be 5 different colors. And I'll show if a property is connected, if it's available, if a vacant lot's available for new construction. And it's just to try to give them some information about a property. Now, if they're wanting a letter, they wanted an actual confirmation, there will be a disclaimer on there that they do need to contact the utility department to get that information.
If you want to cut down on those phone calls, put the sewer map back on the website.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, good.
So that'll be the dashboard, and so all the properties that are audited will have a certain color assigned to them. So we'll have connected properties, and then the vacant will have, or the availability properties will have their own color, and then unavailable properties will have their own color. And it will go up on the public facing, so that way people can see it, and they can go to their address and see what we have once it's been audited. Now, if the property's not been audited, it's gonna remain blank until it's been audited. But Adam, Marty, and I were having a discussion, if realtors are wanting a letter, we're gonna put a disclaimer in there. That way, if they want an actual verification letter, they still need to contact us. This is the information we have when we audited the property. But if they want further information, they need to contact the utility department.
When will that be up?
Once things start calming down, I have time to fine tune it a little bit. I have been working on it, so it's not like I had to build it from scratch. It's just gonna be some fine tuning.
Well, I've been here too long to like the story when it calms down.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping once these projects kind of wrap up towards the end of the year, we might have, I'm hoping, don't look at me like that. I'm hoping I might have a little bit of time. I really only need about a week to really fine tune it, get it cleared with everybody. I'll present it to you guys before it goes up, of course.
So right now, Ashley's primary focus is the emergency response plan, which is a regulatory requirement. So,
Yeah,
got lots of other stuff going on that Ashley's working on, but that's kind of her all-consuming workload for the rest of the year. But, the other thing that Ashley didn't touch on with this is, we won't, in the past, I believe we published some maps that had the sewer lines on them, and realtors were making assumptions that, there's a sewer line here, sewer is available. This is just a colored map. So it just shows the parcel of land. It's got a color coding to say it's available or not available. They won't actually be able to see where a sewer line is and make any assumptions that, yeah, we can get hooked up. That would all have to go through the application process. That's when Marty would work with their application process to make sure that they're getting hooked up to the right sewer line, whether on the front or the back of their house.
the more information you can put on there, the less phone calls you're going to get from them.
Mr. Chairman, I guess this is really for Adam, is Marty the one that's doing the assessment of the availability, or is it your admin aide?
It's actually the sewer supervisor, and it's actually in the field, is the one that actually does the assessment, and the admin aide is actually the one that sends it out to the realtors and does the admin part of it.
So they're handling the application process, so
Yeah, they have,
move them to here to Village Hall, there's not going to be a disconnect?
no, we can, through computers and the remoting, it's the same thing, the realtors email it in, or, it comes to water billing either way, and then it's either emailed or put, like right now, it's put in the box, but it'll be emailed to the correct supervisor, and then it'll be signed and emailed back.
And also to kind of touch bases on that, we're currently scanning all the property files into Laserfish. So all the admin aides, the sewer supervisor can pull up the property file and see what's going on if they got a letter. when they received that letter. When was the last time the crews went out there to verify sewer? So that will also probably help with that, if there was any disconnect, that everything is stored in Laserfish.
And it'll be refined coming up, like now, water and sewer on the same application, so it's turned in, it goes to the two supervisors out in the field to fill out, make sure that it's verified, and then it actually goes through comes to me, and I actually have the last signature before it comes in or goes back to the realtor, to make sure all the information is put on there.
It makes a big difference to the realtors, because if it doesn't have sewer, it's a $15,000 aerobic tank. So when they're selling those things, they don't want to get misrepresented and get stuck with one of those.
Exactly.
All right, good. How about the asset management and risk and resiliency?
The water, so the water audit's the
Oh,
next item,
okay.
Mr. Chairman. For everyone, the new staff, so a water audit is a tool that a water utility can utilize to basically account for all of the water that's produced and where it goes. So in the water audit process, we compile all of the production reports from Randy, our production manager. We pull all of our water billing use, and then we collect data on our other uses in town, like uses for firefighting, uses for chemical carrier water in the production process, street sweepers, basically anything that uses water, we compile that for a given year. And that data is compared so that we know, a utility wants to reduce its water consumption that doesn't bring in revenue. So we're not a business, but we want to have aspects of running like a business. We want to make sure that we maximize our revenues for water produced and finding out where our water is going. The water audit, I just completed one for the last fiscal year. We completed an annual water conservation report, and that will be presented as part of the manager's report at the regular council meeting. And then once a month, we do all the calculations so that at the end of the year, we're not scurrying to try to find all of the information. And so we report on it monthly so that we can look at trends and see how our water consumption changes on a month-to-month basis. And so that's what these reports are that I submit as part of our monthly tool, data tracker tool. And so this first sheet on here with the gray bars on the bottom is showing our non-revenue water in millions of gallons. So this is a trailing 12-month average. And so just like I was talking about before, we have continued that trend of reducing non-revenue water. And for this last period, we did finally slip back to selling more water than our non-revenue water. So we'll see if that continues, but we got back to where we were about 3 years ago. Unfortunately, it's taken a while to get back to that spot though. On the top bar, that's the total water supplied, and so we've had a substantial reduction in total water supplied into the system. If we go to the next graph with the green bars on the bottom, the green bars represents the value of our non-revenue water. So you can think of, if we're pumping wells, if we're running the treatment plant, it costs us consumable products, it costs us chemicals, it costs us electricity. We have to pay for water right leases, and so that gives us a value to that non-revenue water. And so this is also a trailing 12-month indicator, and so right now it's showing that we're a hair above $300,000. So that's what our utility loses in consumable products for our non-revenue water. And so theoretically, if we were to able to get no non-revenue water, we could save the water utility $300,000. That would be very difficult, but it at least helps us establish baselines for determining how we want to manage our system. And then the infrastructure leakage index is kind of a difficult concept to understand, and it doesn't really apply well to Ruidoso. But basically, it's looking at our mileage of pipes throughout the system, and then looking at the number of customers and how far spaced out the customers are. And it gives this standardized index to determine, what is an appropriate amount of leakage in our system. And so I believe that a target for that is between 1 and 2 is kind of where you're trying to shoot for. But again, and if you can talk to a lot of people that are familiar with water audits, and the infrastructure leakage index does not apply as well to mountainous communities like ours as it does flatter communities like Roswell or Albuquerque.
That's because of the pressure zones, correct, Eric?
Yep. And then the last sheet, it's got the blue and black and yellow lines. So this shows both the unadjusted actual monthly values, and that's the dotted lines. And then the solid lines are the trailing, so they're taking the average over the previous 12 months. And so you can see for the total water supplied on the top, the blue, we had another decrease in total water supplied. But what's good is that we actually had an uptick in water sales. So that's, our decreased water production was not indicative of a decrease in people in town or water being sold. And so that combination of the two has really helped us have that trend in reduced non-revenue water. So let's hope that we can keep carrying that through this fall and through the winter and get back to where we were several years ago. Does anyone have any questions?
A comment, but I assume that's going to be coming up in this next election again, the bond issue on water. So you've probably got a couple of months, but you might be thinking about putting something together to put out to the public so we can make sure we get that passed again.
Sure. And I we'll probably want to try to lean on us trying to leverage the funds for additional funds and grants, and we'll work on some talking points on.
Yeah, well, you've done a lot of work since the last election.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. All right, now the asset management.
So Ashley, you want to just touch on the geodatabase?
Okay. So this summer, we thought everything was squared away with our utility network. Come to find out, our geodatabase, when we created it, was in a domain geodatabase and not a user geodatabase. Pretty much that meant that we were restricted on creating a utility network. So I started creating a user geodatabase for the utility network. And pretty much what this will allow us to do is we have all of our lines, valves, PRVs, everything on a map. And everything will be connected, and if we turn off a valve, we can see what properties will not be getting any water. So future things that might be able to help us is, the crews are out there, they're like, okay, we're turning off this valve right here. We might be able to have something on the website saying, okay, these properties are going to be out of service. That might also help to reduce the phone calls that we're getting of, why do I not have any water? Well, it's because your house is connected to this water line through this valve. So that's what we're working on right now, and so once I get everything moved over into this user geodatabase, we're working with Luke, last name Andrews? Luke Andrews, and he's gonna help kind of connect all the lines. He's already geo-referenced a lot of the old maps into the utility, so he's kind of seeing how things are most likely playing out in the field and how everything connects in. So that way we can at least get a foundation laid out as we're moving forward.
Ashley, on the, I don't know which maps you guys are using as far as, to cross-reference that. But if you guys go on the V drive under the map book,
Okay,
look under Adam's water map on there, I
Okay.
think Lori has labeled, and that's the old map that, was actually drawn out in the field.
Oh.
And that's probably one of the closest, besides the as-built
Okay.
we have, closest to what feeds what.
awesome. I will export that out and hand it over to Luke, so that way he can look at that as well and
Okay.
kind of get this all set up properly. So obviously, like how Adam was saying, as we're getting these as-built in, we are updating the water lines and sewer lines as they're coming in and cleaning everything up. So eventually, the goal is to have all of the town representative of what's actually out there and what connects to what. So,
Good. All right, which one's doing risk and resiliency, or both of you?
that'd be me.
Okay,
So we have officially 2 months left before we have to submit the risk and resilience emergency response plan. We've already submitted a certificate for the VSAT tool. We did that during the summer, so now it's actually putting the plan together. They did provide us with a template of everything that needs to be in there. So I've been working with water distribution, sewer collections, water production, streets, parks and rec. Feel like I'm missing somebody. But I've been working with all these different departments, figuring out what equipment we have, what safety information is going on, what do we do for like debris cleaning, who are our partners, state, local, federal partners. So I've been working with everybody, and my goal is to try to have all the information collected and put into the ERP by the end of this month. And then that way we have the month of December to kind of clean it out, finalize it, make sure we're not missing anything before we have to submit it.
And that's why, on this next council meeting, I put in a contract agreement for, it's called New Mexico WARN. And so WARNs are like a water, wastewater, organization that helps establish existing pricing for us to, so we could reach out to another WARN member, like the Albuquerque Water Utility, and say, hey, we've had a massive flood and, we lost 4 of our river crossings and we need experienced crews to come out to help. We could call on them and they could voluntarily send their crews to us if they felt they could spare them. And then we would have a contract in place to basically pay them their actual expenses that they have on their wages. And then there's a set FEMA reimbursement schedule for equipment, so that we can call for other utilities to help us if we really desperately needed help. And the vice versa would occur too, where, somebody could reach out to Ruidoso, and if we were willing to spare our equipment and crews, we could send a crew to help another utility in a disaster.
we do that with the fire department, I believe, something similar.
RMP.
So it's not a uncommon thing in other areas. The New Mexico WARN is, I think, growing a lot more with these emergency response plans being due, because the EPA is poking everyone to join them. So we will follow suit and join them. I know that it's going to help us. I know that Adams sent some crews to help with Carrizozo and Capitan periodically, and hopefully we can get those utilities on board, so then we don't have to worry about reimbursement or anything. We already know the terms of the agreement between sharing resources.
Mr. Chairman, Ashley, when did you say you were going to present that plan? Or you said it had to be ready in a couple of months, but when are you going to
So I,
present it to this board?
I'm gonna try to get everything compiled by the end of November. And then we have until December to, submit it to,
We submit so
EPA?
we just have to submit a form certifying that we completed it. So all of the document is protected under both federal and state, I don't know what basically it's a public document, but it's not a public document. And so we're able to review it in an executive session, and people can't request it as part of our, sunshine, state laws. So, but yeah, we'll be able to present a draft, here. It just won't be a public document for anyone to view. The December meeting.
Well, that sort of makes sense. You don't want the bad guys knowing how we're protecting everything.
Exactly, because it's gonna list all of our, the terrorist attacks and.
Critical assets.
Natural
You know,
floods and.
I certainly understand that, Eric, but, I think if anything, and, you and I talked briefly last week, I think our internal emergency management, we should have a committee meeting and go through it, and, sometimes there's more eyes on something like that, and somebody from another department may see something that they may consider a risk that you all aren't seeing, so.
And I can, once I get it compiled, I'm kind of waiting on a couple of people right now to do some final meetings for this assessment. But once I have it compiled, I am more than happy to send out a meeting invite and try to coordinate something with everybody.
And then, of course, if something does occur, they're the ones that are going to have to be carrying it out, so.
And Mr. Chairman and Manager Dodge, we have been working with both the chiefs and Joe through this whole process, so they've not been excluded in it. But yeah, I think it would be good for us to have a sit-down meeting to discuss everything. So would you prefer it to be a component of this meeting, or would you like to have a separate meeting?
No, I'd prefer to have a staff meeting. Those aren't open to the public either.
Okay.
And, I think that there's, staff members that, should be involved so we can address that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, once I get everything compiled and kind of cleaned up, I will definitely send out that email and we can have a.
And if nothing else, if you don't go into specifics, Eric, I think it was a good suggestion that you had last week to have, a tabletop exercise, and, people need to build that muscle memory when it comes to emergencies.
Okay. All right, we'll coordinate that staff meeting here in December, early December.
Is this a FEMA
This is
mandated
a-
thing in Homeland Security or
No, so this is an EPA
EPA?
requirement,
Okay.
and it was part of the American Water Infrastructure Act. And so it requires any utility serving more than 3,000 people to complete this, so,
So do they have to review it when it's done?
nope. So all that we're
okay.
doing is we're sending in a certification to the EPA, because the EPA doesn't want any of this information, because they can't protect the documents from public request. And so we just send in a certification to say, hey, it's here. If somebody from the EPA wants to come here and review it, it's here for you to look at, but they can't take it,
Okay.
so,
So when you say it's done,
yes.
good.
And they've been, Eric and Ashley have been really good about identifying all assets, working with myself and the chiefs and Marty, everybody, and identifying all assets and different triggers for those assets also. So, I mean, it's all down in document. It's been a process.
Those are also Homeland Security requirements,
ICS,
incident command.
yes.
So have you identified things that we're going to need to do?
So,
Yes.
yeah, so
Okay.
that will be a component of the plan, is setting up a mitigation plan for our assets.
And one of the components we're currently working on right now is making a list of the assets that made it through to this final end, our critical assets, and going out and physically inspecting them and seeing what security features are there, and, what do we need to do that's critical right now, we need to go ahead and improve upon it.
So we've established a small budget to do the low-hanging fruits, and then in the next fiscal year, we'll request if there's any type of major improvements that we need to address. This has been a pretty,
2 years.
yeah, pretty big process, and it does, on the outside, appear a little bit weird that we were doing it in-house, but the process that we used really encouraged it to be a staff-created document, because it creates buy-in with the utility, and I probably wouldn't have had the same buy-in if we had a consultant come in and present us a plan. It's been staff the whole way working through it, and I think it's helped, a lot of our operators think about safety aspects that they might have not ever thought about before.
Yeah. Well, and you guys know where everything is.
Yeah.
Some consultant.
And it's the same thing, Randy, he gets a sanitary survey, and a lot of the stuff that was brought up, in this actually went way deeper than the actual sanitary survey came in, so it's a good document.
Good. Okay, for the planning stuff, the Alto Reservoir improvements.
So we completed the pressure test of the Alto line, and that line is in near perfect shape. So when we advertise for the new water resource engineering, we'll be able to add that project to rehab or reconnect that line so we can run water from Alto Reservoir up to the ball fields. The main engineer that was working on it, Marcus, has left Moles and Corbin, and so Steve Morrow was working on the memo for the improvements, and so he'll be finishing it. It's basically been on standby waiting for this pressure test, so the memo's already written with recommendations for improving the reservoir. So hopefully once we get the written results from Mike Chavez, I'm gonna try to push Steve to have us something here by the end of the year so that we can share that information with the engineer that we've selected for that, so we can get moving on that project, because I want to make sure that we don't lose another year without pumping water from Alto Reservoir for snowmaking. You continue?
Yeah, keep going.
So for the underground storage and recovery, I'm still just waiting for Christina, the state engineer's secretary, to schedule us for a meeting in November. And I will be including Manager Dodge in that meeting. Roger and I are gonna be coordinating a meeting this week to set up our talking points for the state engineer so that we come in there with a unified plan. But that project's on standby until we have that meeting. Wingfield Park, so we've got the draft master plan for Wingfield Park that's being reviewed as part of other committees and groups. And so once that is approved, we'll move forward with the finalization of that project and hopefully start construction on that in this next calendar year.
Okay.
And then the Eagle Creek Wellfield Phase 3, I put in the application for the Water Trust Board for that. So that's gonna be the Alto 3 and Alto 4 wells. And those are those two wells that are kind of closer to the waterfall that's below Alto Reservoir. Looking at putting those two online. And I'm gonna be working with Ashley, so Ashley's gonna be the kind of trainee project manager for that. This will be her first construction project management. She's been doing great with some of the other programmatic projects. So if you wanted to talk about the pump test we're doing.
So, we met, what's his name, David? I always get Zach.
Zeke.
Zeke.
Or no, Zach.
Zach. There's too many names. I'm
Zeke's over there,
saying.
huh?
And he's always correcting me. He's like, no, it's this person. So we met with him. He's from John Shoemaker and Associates to look at the doing a pumping test for the A4 well. And so we looked at potential berm site. The berm site, we did talk to Rodney about it, so he is aware that a portion of the trail will be shut down while this pumping test is going on. So we created a berm, and this berm is going to end up being a permanent berm, so that way if we ever have to do any more pumping tests or flushings, it can go into this berm without actually going into the creek itself. And right now, we are currently getting the specs to go out to bid. So we're reviewing the final specs, and then we'll go out to bid from there.
And this is just gonna be a request for quotes. It will be a small project, so it won't be a formal bid.
Okay.
This is a stage one, so we're doing the pumping test so that we can confirm what the well can produce. And this will be, again, we're trying to prepare ourselves for when we bring on an engineer for these projects. We want to have everything available and on hand so they can hit the ground running with their design.
Yeah. I had a question for you that has nothing to do with that. Once upon a time, we approved a project. It was cleaning up the gas tanks up at the Chisholms, and they, I believe, were going to pump water down toward the creek. Whatever happened with that? I don't think they did it.
So
did they?
there was a person so the owner of the Chisholm's gas station was able to acquire the parcel of property that's right to the south of there.
Oh,
And so
okay.
they don't need any external property. They'll be treating on that parcel and injecting it.
Okay, good. Are they doing that? Are they cleaning that up already?
That I am not aware of yet, but I can send a quick email to Tom Golden and see if they've at least started that. Kind of got the feeling that NMED was telling them to slow down on that to balance their budget.
Huh.
Because it's not, because the Chisholm's gas station is not the one who was paying for the
Right.
cleanup. It was that petroleum tax, and so it was the state that's actually paying for the remediation of the site.
It'd just be nice to get it cleaned up before it hits some of our water supplies.
Yes, and, the good thing though is the way that the highway is sitting there, the compaction from the highway has actually held the contamination at the site. And so even though it's happened a long time ago, we haven't had much migration from that site. So that's the good news, but I'll reach out to Tom and see where they're sitting at with that project.
Okay, thanks.
I believe they are building a pumping plant at the end of the gas station. And from my understanding, they're building a treatment system that's gonna go in right there.
Okay, so they might already be starting on it.
Mr. Chairman, Eric, have we considered any type of planting on that burn scar, like trees? I know that Tom talked about having a machine that removes the roots and everything on the small trees and.
We haven't. If you would like, we could chat about it at the Watershed Advisory Committee this week and maybe get a plan moving forward.
Yeah, I just think that it looks pretty bad, and if we get a few years head start on getting some trees in there, I think it would be great.
Okay.
Are they, I hadn't noticed, but are they water barring any of that stuff as they cut it down?
So we installed water bars on the dozer line, but we weren't doing anything on the actual burn scar. And I haven't walked the site, but it's my understanding that there was some weeds and grasses that grew in that site once we started getting the rain. I'd have to go visit it again.
Yeah, well, hopefully that doesn't all wash down to the
I
creek.
hadn't been out there either.
Looking at you like,
I see you looking at me, but I'm like, sorry, Eric.
I can tell you what the elk are doing outside my window, that's about it.
I haven't even seen the parking lot out there, so.
But yeah, let's put that on watershed.
Okay.
Okay, on the engineering stuff, the hazard mitigation and stabilization for sewer line is,
Come up here, Zeke.
Yes, sir, Chairman. We're still working on, we're getting all the easements sent out. Our time frame for getting all of the remaining easements was last Friday. And we're still working with Moles and Corbin, trying to get the last couple revised and sent out. Our hope is to still get those returned back by the end of November. And we're still working with Moles and Corbin on the revised cost estimates from Moles and Corbin. They're supposed to get those to us any day now, is what they say. And so we're still on track for getting this project out to procurement in early 2022 still.
okay,
Is still the goal. We've had a couple of shifts on the timeline for the milestones, of course, but we're still tracking the overall and trying to get this out to bid early next year.
yeah, so far the milestones have wheels on them.
Yes, yes, they do.
Are you having good luck with the easements, or most people?
For the most part, you know, Karen and Phoebe have been doing a lot of visits with homeowners, property owners. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We've received quite a few signed easements back. There are some that we haven't heard anything from, of course, and there are a few that, we're wanting to negotiate a little bit and just clarify, what's being removed in the project, and, mainly the big ticket item has been trees. This far we've been dealing with. That's the main question by most property owners is what trees are coming down and
Sure.
what are they going to be replaced with.
On the lining part of it, which is pretty well done, have we had any problems with homeowners after it was done and they think we did damage, or?
Mr. Chairman, right at the end of the project, we had a couple homeowners calling concerned about some access and stuff like that, but other than that, they've all been real responsive with us, and everything's gone real well.
Good. Okay, Pine Bluff.
So,
Yes, it's
yeah, it's me.
CDBG grant.
CDBG grant. We have got the SHPO back. I sent out the letters for the historic stuff for Pine Cliff. SHPO has gave us response, and MED gave us response. We've got everything back except for the Mescalero tribe, and I'm sending out another letter to them. We did receive the preliminary design from Sauter Miller and Associates, so I am reviewing that, working with them on a couple of easements for lift stations, and so that one's actually moving forward.
Good, and have we started surveying the neighborhood? for
That's my next step, is the surveys.
When does that grant have to go in?
It's got to be submitted by, I think, next September. February, we got to let them know that we are going for a grant, but September's the application, July, September.
So you'll have a little bit of time to catch all those
Well,
people at home.
I'm trying to get everything done now, so we're not waiting until the last minute to do.
Good plan.
Mr. Chairman, Adam, I think we may consider, phasing that project and looking at some of the, more difficult tasks like the lift stations
Yes, sir.
and getting that phased in first.
Yes, sir.
And then, building it out, because I think, when you look at that town and country project, we don't have the human resource power and the contractors to get some of those projects done, and my understanding is just going to get worse, so.
Tim, thank you for bringing that up, and that's one of the things that I've actually brought up to Sauter Miller in the last week, is as far as phasing some of these projects.
So would you phase it in, or would we just do some of our stuff first?
I think it'd be phased in because like the lift stations, you're looking at electrical, you're looking at some fairly big construction just to install the lift stations. So, if we get the lift stations, like the force main part of it done first in the areas that we need, and then maybe phase in different pieces of the Pine Cliff area.
Can we do that with that grant?
That's,
Mr. Chairman, oftentimes when you phase it like that, they actually like it, and then it cuts down on staff efforts as well, because we go and do all the surveys right away, and we do all the engineering up front, and then you can apply for it, several years in a row to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you actually maximize your opportunity to bring in more money.
So we could get 750 per phase instead of,
Potentially, yes.
yeah, well, that would help.
I know, Ron, you've built out some projects like that, phasing it out, right?
That's correct. I think we're learning with the Town and Country project and moving forward with this large area here is phasing it and be able to get the infrastructure built. Trying to get it all built at one time would be difficult. But I have done completed some projects phasing it, and it worked great, and we were able to continue funding. You go back to your application, you say this is the second phase of this, and you get a lot of support on that.
thank you, guys.
So never waste a good crisis.
All right, and procurement, Grindstone Dam, I guess that's Randy.
Okay, the IFB for the dams, it advertised on 10/20, and the bids are due on 11/23. And then we had the pre-bid was held on 10/26 at 2 o'clock. And at that time, we had 2 bidders that were putting in for it. And the kickoff meeting for the outlet works and the conduit inspection was held a couple weeks ago. Wright Water Engineers will be doing the engineering on that. And the thing they're working on right now is a agenda or a scope of work for the divers. That's the first part that's going to be done is we'll hire divers and then they'll go in and do the inspection on the conduit and the vault. And they'll have to probably run a camera system through the piping. And then the divers will have to look at the conduit, in the reservoir. So everything's moving pretty quick. Seems like we'll get some of these projects knocked out in a decent time frame.
Good.
Other than that, I'll stand for any questions.
Paradise Canyon stuff, is that you?
Mr. Chairman, I think Randy had a joke for us.
Oh,
Which one, Tim?
That's that one you told us just.
About your shots.
Oh, yeah, I was able to get my first shot last week, and I won't get the second one until the waitress comes back. And then I'm willing to take the boosters also. I actually told that to Cheryl, and she laughed. She thought that was funny. She goes, Randy, I thought you already had your shots. And I said, well, I did.
I was really surprised that Randy did show up to work this morning, but, after last night's loss, so.
Actually I laughed. So, yeah, we always find a way to lose it.
Eric, you want to do the procurement on that?
Yeah, so, we poked along both the engineering firms that are working on these projects so that we can get them done before the paving happens on Paradise Canyon, so.
good plan.
So Moles & Corbin was able to dust off the old plan set. It'd been about 2 years since they had been worked on. We did the shifting priority and did Town and Country versus this project. And then Riverbend Engineering was working on the Hull culvert project and guardrail replacement. So we were bidding it as one project. We got Plan Set A and Plan Set B. So there'll be separate funds. They'll be administered by each of the different firms, but we'll be awarding one contractor for the whole project. And we did that so that we did not have to have them coordinate traffic control and step on each other's feet, we'll have one general contractor that will deal with it.
Mr.
On the
Chairman,
Hollow Road project, are they gonna do anything with those gabion baskets
So.
down there, you know, below the,
There's, the gating basket, they're gonna be left in place, but there's gonna be some riprap, rundowns to make sure that the water isn't pooling, and eroding away behind those.
behind, yeah, that looked like it wasn't complete.
So that, kind of basically the sides will be rip-wrapped. I believe there'll be a curb and gutter just on the outside of the new guardrails. Guardrails will be put at the appropriate height, because right now they're too short, because that area's been paved so many times.
And what it'll do, the curb and gutter will actually come out and wing wall instead of the water pooling, like Eric says, next to the box culverts and running down and do the erosion. So you'll have the curb and gutter come out, and then you rip wrap on the other side of that for the run down to the river. So that should take care of it.
Because now if the river gets high, it looks like it goes around those gabion baskets.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Eric, how many laterals are you considering on Paradise Canyon?
75, right, Adam?
70,
70?
yes.
Is there any future laterals that may be needed in that area?
The laterals that we identified in that area are already set for each lot line. So right now, there's 70 laterals, and there's like right at 150 services off those throughout the laterals. So each service line that's already there will be put back there.
So every lot has a service?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And all of those up off of Hart, and does that have sewer up in that area?
Well, this project is just for water, but the Hart, there's some piecemeal lines of sewer in the Hart and Bradley area. But we won't be going up in that area. It's just the Paradise Canyon.
So they'll have access to it in the future, tying into a main up there or something, without cutting the road?
Yeah, well, there's, for sewer, there's already a sewer that crosses to Hart and Bradley there.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to improve the infrastructure up there, they could tie into that, I guess, yes, sir.
Good. Okay, RFP for master planning stuff. Eric?
So it's been advertised, we had our pre-proposal meeting, and I might have to see if Ron has the sheet that I printed out for him, but I believe the proposals are due on the 18th of November, and that will give us adequate time to review them. Because it's gonna be a pretty tedious process with making sure there's representatives from each of the enterprise funds.
Yeah.
And then, if needed, we'll do presentations at the workshop meeting if we feel it's needed, but otherwise we'll be awarding at the December council meeting.
Okay, the leak detection.
So the leak detection is the next priority procurement that Karen's working on. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
Have you identified an area that you're going to have them in, or
We're gonna do all of town.
really?
So the idea is for us to do all of town within a year's time frame, and then every following year to do 20% of town, so that we revisit everywhere once in 5 years. And that number is based on last year's analysis that we did for the water conservation report. Basically, that's our economic return interval, where we can, basically the non-revenue water that we save would pay for having somebody come out to do that service. So based on previous rates that we paid, I put aside about $200,000 to pay for that. That should cover most of town. We might need to add a little bit of money in there, but the intent is for everything to be covered in 1 year.
Good. Okay, under construction, it looks like it's still you with stormwater management.
So I haven't been out to the site, Zeke, but they moved the job trailer out there.
Yeah,
So that is my knowledge of it, only because I saw it move from here. So Zeke, do you have any updates?
So the inside portion of the Horton's gonna start next week. They did that on purpose, kind of wait until the election was done and
Yeah.
so they wouldn't disrupt the election stuff going on. So they're supposed to mobilize and start the interior renovations next week. And, the actual stormwater portion is probably not gonna happen until early spring, or early next year, probably after the winter weather's gone, then they'll start it on the exterior, which includes the drainage.
We did get the easement from the schools. But I don't have it
Okay, that was my question, if you got that and the fields worked
I
out
don't
with
have
the
it physically
schools.
in hand yet, but the board did approve it 5-0, so they're on board for a project.
Well, get your paper before tomorrow, it may all change. Actually, only one will change. Okay, the lift stations and force mains.
Yeah, so the lift stations, force mains, they've got the base installed for the dry well at the Circle Lift Station location. They are currently coming up with the rings of the manhole, the barrels of the manhole, they're installing those. That thing was 20 feet deep, so once they got the base installed and they got the foundations poured, all that stuff, they're slowly coming up. They've got the gravity, the manhole and the gravity sewer there at that location tied into that wet well as well. And so they're currently just backfilling on the wet well now. Their plan is to come up the road and start installing force main up the road and into, tie into the existing sewer. That work's gonna start on Wednesday of this week. So they're trying to get the traffic control set up and all the notifications are being sent out for the traffic control that'll affect the Upper Canyon, the Circle area. So all in all, that project's moving along pretty well. There was an incident over the weekend or last night there at Mr. Stinson's, a piece of his wooden fence got taken out.
Oh, great.
Yeah, somebody had swerved off the road and hit the tree right there in his driveway, knocked down some of the fence, and when they backed up, they took down another portion of his fence.
But it had nothing to do with our project.
Yeah, the contractor showed up this morning at 7 a.m. and started making phone calls and pictures right away, so Mr. Stinson has been notified. I actually left him a voicemail this morning, followed up with an email, he hasn't called back, but it's not part of our project, just kind of happened right there at the entrance, so.
Well, it's good they got on it, so
Right.
they're
right.
not blamed.
Yeah, for sure. Talked to Chief Chavez, and he's aware of the situation. He was gonna look at their call logs and see if they had any reports of anything in that area last night, or, could have happened over Halloween, trick-or-treaters get pretty wild, you never know. but
Or maybe after the Viking game.
It could be a mad Vikings fan, I don't know.
Check Randy's truck.
From listening to Lawrence on the radio, you guys had a little activity on Halloween night.
Too much jungle juice.
Witch's brew.
All right, Adam, the imaginary RGU shop building.
Well, thanks to Ron and Zeke, fighting with P&M and getting them on the ball, I think we're moving forward. Zeke, you wanna get it up there?
Yeah, so Ron and I met with P&M last Friday morning to get a plan established to disconnect the existing service to the Hollywood well there. And they are actually going to be doing that work midweek this week. And so once that's disconnected, we're going to bring in a generator. Randy and Eric have been working with some electricians on some wiring there at the well. And then Adam and Marty are going to bring in a generator to where we can run that well when needed, but the construction can start because that existing service underground will be disconnected. And
Okay,
so
great.
instead of waiting for the whole thing to get rerouted and the back and forth, we're finally gonna, knock on wood, get
You
started.
never would get a building waiting on them to do all
It's
that.
been delayed long enough, so.
And P&M was saying, one of the people from P&M was saying that it's gonna be, Christmas time before they got anything done, and
Right.
these two kind of went over and talked to the guys at P&M and got it rolling.
Good.
And Zuni's on schedule to hook up the connection on Wednesday morning.
And Zuni's also,
Already set to go.
they also have the generator that we're
Yep.
gonna use. They're the ones doing the electrical, so we found out that they rent generators, so, I mean, it's a win-win situation on that.
Did you get all the information I sent? It's pretty helpful from Bryce. He helped me out.
I don't want to take credit, but I'm actually the one that called out the right pitcher when I called Ron and said, Ron, you need to jump on this.
He did. He brought in the closer.
In the closer.
He did.
I said, we need a new pitcher. Ron, jump in there.
Yeah, there's somebody there, I think he's their operations manager, but he helped us a lot here with the Village Hall project. And,
We probably need to send a letter. Thanks.
yes, Joseph Graham, and he is just, he understands it, and there's a lot, they have one engineer now that's working, and it's new, and
He's out on the
Joseph and his
corner.
guys, his crew were there, and man, those guys are just, we'll get it done.
Yeah, Joseph is great. It's the engineers that hold everything together.
Yes, we'll have to keep that under the radar.
But yeah, we should send Joseph a letter from the mayor
That'd be good.
and his staff too.
Get the names of those guys.
So have you notified White Sands that they'll be able to
Yes.
proceed?
Yes, sir. I sent them an email along with Wilson and Company, on Friday about our conversation, saying this time next week, there will be no delays. We are ready to go. So
Good.
get us on your schedule and let's get this thing going.
I
So,
don't believe your no delay story, but good, they're gonna get started. Okay, Eagle Creek and Gavilan Canyon well field.
We were able to work out, there's some slight changes to the annular seal, setup for the Brown well. Basically, we still got our 50-foot annular seal, but we didn't get the total spec 5-foot of, bentonite. And that's because they could not, get that last little bit of debris, cleaned out from the borehole. But we came to a solution where we put in there 1 foot of bentonite chips in there, and then they poured a 5-foot depth of the concrete for the annular seal after the bentonite had hydrated. They let that set overnight and harden, and then they finished up the rest. So our concern was, if we didn't get enough bentonite seal, that the concrete could, with pressure, 50 foot of pressure, would basically squirt out the bottom of the well and go into the well. So that did not happen with this 5-foot lift of concrete. We got all the clearances through NMED, and so we meet our 50-foot annular seal requirements. So Stewart Brothers went to do the clean out for the well from all the debris from the reaming, and things were going well, but once they got past 800 feet, they started having complications with airlifting out the debris. So the way that we were running the well equipment is they're basically pumping air down the bit, and so they're lifting the debris on the outside. And so what was happening is there was rather large debris chips that were coming up, and they had to push so much air down there that they started having the sides of the formation flake out. And so basically they were getting nowhere. They were running material up and material was falling down at the same time. And so there wasn't an immense amount of production out of the bottom of the well. And so we're going to propose to stop cleaning out the hole where it's at. It will still give us 100 feet up to the bottom of the pump, so there's no impacts to the pump setting. And because a lot of the debris that fell in the well was some larger rocks, we don't actually expect that will fully close off. There was only 2 fractures that we identified in there. These larger rocks should still let water flow through up. So it really should have minimal impact to us. It would have been a new mobilization fee to call out a different type of equipment to come out to clean out that last little bit. It's not worth the risk and the cost. We're basically gaining nothing.
Yeah.
So, we'll move forward without cleaning out that bottom part of the well. We did just meet with General Hydronics though. In addition to the staffing issues that Ed Bowles had conveyed to you guys at the council meeting that they're having with Town and Country, they're having some material delays. And so some of the valving, the large valves that we have on the commingled line, they haven't even gotten an estimated time of delivery yet. So they don't even have an idea when we'll get those valves. But some of the other valves that are in the vaults won't be delivered until February 1st of 2022. And so the substantial completion of the project was going to be on the 23rd of November. And so they've requested a 39-day extension of time, which in our discussions, internal discussions after the meeting with them, we don't necessarily agree with just giving them a straight extension and then having them work on the project slowly. And what we're going to propose, based on your guys' guidance, is to, you know, if they're trying to focus in on Town and Country, then let's let them focus in on Town and Country and suspend the contract with the wells, and not just give them 90 days additional time to casually work. Just focus in on Town and Country and then come back to our project off this extension. That way we can save on admin fees. We don't want to pay for our observer to be basically on call at the whim of General Hydronics because they've got an extra crew member and then they decided to come up and do some work.
Well, unfortunately, I'm way too familiar with material delays, but everybody should know that now. I mean, house I'm getting ready to start window deliveries in 6 months. So I'm going window shopping this week.
Yeah.
Try to find it. But at least I know at the first of the project how long everything's going to take, and I order it accordingly. I mean, sometimes I get a new lie of the week, but
Well,
they need to be, I don't know how we can tighten that up in future contracts, but they should be aware of all the problems.
so we're requesting that Ed and Lauren send us their email documentation from Core and Maine, because Lawrence said that he ordered the equipment as soon as they got the notice to proceed. And they had all of the clearances from the engineer for any type of submittals. So they've told us at least that they've ordered the equipment at the earliest that they could. And, you know, it was the engineer that set the construction days. But yeah, you know, we were kind of scratching our head exactly how to do this because, you know, we want to be reasonable and we don't want to crush one of our contractors. But, you know, if the parts aren't here, they're just not here.
Yeah, and sometimes those are moving targets. You can't count on it, but still. And I don't know how they're doing those draws, but normally you get work completed and materials on site. So if they got it early, we'd pay them, I assume.
For materials?
Yeah,
Yes, but they haven't delivered most
Right.
materials out there.
so there's no drawback in ordering stuff early other than maybe storage. Because we'd pay them for it when they got it.
That's correct.
Yes,
So
Yes.
there's,
it just has to be on site.
so I don't know how you write a contract around that, but it'd be nice to at least know that they're ordering stuff on time.
Yes. And so, in our meeting, we expressed that we need to have all that email documentation as a component of the change order. And, we haven't gone through the whole sheet yet for the process. It's just, we wanted to be upfront and just share, this is the conversation that we had today. Today was the first time that we talked about this, but I want to be upfront with everyone as we get that information.
I think we need to look at our capital projects process and, if we have too many projects with one company, we start spreading that out. Or have them demonstrate that they have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
We have, 3 projects with them right now? Mm-hmm. And they're behind on all of them?
Well, of course, labor is kind of like material delivery. That's, he was saying in the meeting that they kept hiring guys. And
Yeah, I don't know if I totally believe what they were saying. We talked to them about a ramp-up time and everything else on that project, but, that's an excuse that's working in their favor, but,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got the same problem. They've got an advantage. At least they're hiring guys. I can't even hire guys.
yeah. He just had crews spread out all over. He's having to pull from.
Yeah, he's got stuff going on in Mescalero. He's got a few jobs going. That's what he's saying. He's pulling people off the jobs in Mescalero and off of, other places and stuff like that. But, it's one of those things, you bid a job, you
Should have them.
I can understand losing people. I mean, we've been trying to hire people too, but at the same time, everybody knew going into this what was going on.
All right. Randy, the Alto Crest treatment plant improvements.
Okay, it's basically 80 days to substantial completion, which is still on schedule for January 19th. And 122 days to the final completion, which is March 7th, which hopefully they'll be able to be early. But, Smith Cove's basically done. They just have small things that they're working on. It's basically Current Electric that's doing all the work, and they're working on the hard part, the brains of the operation. So it's been pretty interesting. A lot of problems have come up, and we've been able to solve most of them, and some of them it's been a battle. But anytime you're dealing with renovation of an existing building of 44 to 45 years old, you are going to run into some complications, and that's just part of the game. And, and so we don't have to spend 10 million to do a whole new project. We're spending 3.4, but, that's going to come with, some surprises. So basically what they're working on right now is, they're still doing a little bit of work in the cylinder cabinet and exhaust fan chlorine room. They're doing a little bit of odds and ends in the bathroom and a few other things, but the majority of it is completed. The big thing right now is the instrumentation installation. They have the engineer on board, they have the programmer, and then the guys that run the wiring ties it into the PLC, and they've got their hands full, but they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's been pretty busy. The 30-day look ahead is just basically working on the instrumentation and the startups. But what they're doing right now, hopefully by the end of the month, they should have everything all tied in, and then they're going to run filter 1 fully automated. And then after that process, they'll go into filter 2 and then filter 3. It'll just be the same type of work, but, they want to get filter 1 knocked out first. We do have a change order that's coming. It's a time and material not to exceed $8,018.12. So when they're actually doing the work, we'll have somebody on site keeping track of the materials and the time. Probably be 2.5 days, maybe 3 at the most. What they're doing is they're wiring changing the wire for the 3 pancake or mud valves. The existing wire is, like I said earlier, it's 44 to 45 years old. And what they're finding out is they're intermittent and short to ground, so which is an indication of either moisture in the wire or pinholes in the wire insulation. So, they did a MEG test on it, and they proved that the wire was no good. And so when they wired it up in the beginning, it was shorting out and tripping the breakers. So, that's something that has to be done for the process for it to go on. So there might be one other small change order.
Randy, real quick on that one. Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, I think that one, Eric's recommended that I sign off on that so it won't cause delays on the project, so.
Right.
I thought it was justifiable, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on that change order.
Yeah, sounds like.
And that
we
one's
gotta
pretty
do-
straightforward. I mean, it's nobody's fault. It is what it is, and,
And it wasn't a foreseeable thing that they
Exactly.
could have bid in.
yep, wasn't engineer's fault or anything, so. And then, once I got the signature, I moved it on real quick. I sent it to Katie, and then she forwarded it on to JW from Smithco, and so the ball, it was moving pretty quick. So I did see an email from JW today to Katie about if we're going to have an inspector or somebody on site when they do the time and material, and we will. So it'll either be probably myself, Terry, or somebody that will keep an eye on it. So we'll definitely cover that. And then there might be another small change order from the 6 Bray valves. Originally, they were going to have them modulate or non-modulating, which we proved hands down that they had to be modulating. So they have to do a little bit of reconfiguration with the programming and stuff. So that might be coming. And then other than that, it looks pretty good. I mean, things are moving, and they're doing actually a pretty good job.
Good.
We should be proud of it once it's all completed. I don't know if anybody's been over there, but just looking at the outside of the building and, the inside's still a cluster mess, but until it's all done. But the roof, everything looks great.
Putting modules on that, is that gonna help you change the chemistry of the plant off-site, or?
Well, we should have it fully automated, and we're going to have more control on the process. And then that should help us with quite a few things. And then we're going to have particle counters in the process, and that's going to help out a lot too. Plus, the backwashing is going to be really simplified. Right now, when the operators do a backwash, they have to go all over the place, But this way, you can press it on the screen and it'll go through it. So, and then.
So I was asking, is that gonna give you remote access? And then my next question
Yes.
gets to the conversation we've had earlier of how do we protect it from somebody tapping in if it is remote access?
Well, there is going to be an app that's going to be on Terry's phone, my phone, and the on-call, we are the only 3 that will have access to operating the plant from the phone. And to protect it, I think, that's a Gary Grubb question, but I think they have a few things installed where it'll help protect it. I know they have a server that's set up just for the computer, for the whole process. So,
It's not online,
no.
but it's on the phone line.
Well, yeah, it's just an app that's, is gonna be on our 3 phones. But I will definitely, I know cybersecurity is a big thing, and, your son did a good presentation on that also. And that's something that we're looking at to make
If
sure.
you've got questions, call him. He said he'll talk to you, and
I might
if you
do that,
need somebody, he can recommend people.
sure.
So, Mr. Chairman, Manager Dodge, our intent is to put out a procurement for a cybersecurity evaluation, and so we were going to work with Eric on developing the scope for that. I just wanted to fit it in with Karen's schedule so that they're not overwhelmed with all the procurements at the same time.
They got Zeke, they can handle it.
I'm on board.
But I'll start the process of developing that scope of work and having those conversations especially while Chairman is still here with us. Once he gets away, I don't think he'll want to help me too much anymore.
Oh, I don't know. He committed himself already.
Okay.
I won't be here, but I'll be in town for a while.
Okay.
I just couldn't turn down doing one more $1 million house.
Sure.
All right, restoration of the sewer lines and manholes.
Right now,
That doesn't mean another 4 years?
come on.
I hope it doesn't take 4 years. You never know these
With
days.
all those material delays, you might as well just run again.
Have your packet ready.
You gotta be prepared as a contractor, you know?
Yeah.
Restoration, we're actually on a holding pattern right now. The last piece of this is gonna be a Fern Trail. And as you know, Mrs. Ivy had some medical issues, and Karen and Phoebe have been trying to work with her son,
John,
excuse me,
John,
John,
yeah.
to get that squared away, to get us easement so we can.
I think he's been handling that the whole time because I met with him when Tom was here. So,
Okay, so like I said, and it is, SAK, they're not gonna have to remobilize or anything. That's their subcontractor that's gonna be doing this piece of it, so just to finish it off. So they're still in it, but they're just, it's just their sub on that one.
well, it can't all go smooth.
Right? And then our favorite town and country,
Yeah.
like you guys approved the 57 days, additional days for them. They are making progress, they got all the way up to Otero on Chavez with the water and the sewer. The sewer is completed on Mary, the water is completed on Mary. They're doing the service tie-ins today. We're also working on Valencia. The sewer is complete on Valencia, and they have water all the way up a little bit past Otero. So they have right at 400 to 500 feet to go on the water side on Valencia, and right at 900 on the water and sewer on Chavez.
I saw Tom Lindsay the other day. He's pretty excited about all
Is
that.
he?
Hey, Adam,
Yes.
are we gonna be getting new tap sheets for all those connections or?
Yes, as soon as, well, they haven't made any connections, just
Okay.
the ones that were already there.
Uh-huh.
So as soon as the project's complete, we'll send out the letters. I'll get
Okay.
with you and we'll send out the letters.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that everything's complete with the project before
Yes,
we
definitely.
go that far.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any plans on doing laterals off all that stuff? And this
There's laterals.
connected a little bit, but
They
there's
did,
lots of people down those side streets.
and they did put laterals to each lot, going up the road.
Just those two, but Hidalgo and what's Shady Lane.
They're putting
and
stub outs to them.
Socorro Circle
Yes.
down there.
Yes.
But you didn't go down the road.
No, we didn't. We just
So
put
are there any plans on, or that's just in the master plan someday?
That's in the
somehow?
next phase. We got the main roads, the interceptor roads, and then we got the stub outs to each of those other roads. So in the next phase, they can tie on.
So will we be able to get another CDBG grant on that?
We can look at something like that.
Cool. I know that's a long process. There's no way we could have done that whole subdivision.
No, and it turned out good. I'm glad that we did get the CDBG grant, and it helped us out a bunch. I think it should have been a phased project, like Tim said.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it turned out.
that's kind of how we learn all these things.
Yep.
Okay, great. Are we really going to close out something? These are all yours, Eric.
So, Terry Yarbrough, our chief plant operator, they did an exploratory dig on the site. Still trying to sort out the plumbing of the Gatlin Canyon tank, so that we can find the correct pipe to tie that middle Gatlin well into. So, Terry and I are gonna be coordinating a on-site visit, and, since Marty is hopefully killing some elk, Adam, I'm hoping that you'll have time to come out and review the site.
Let me know.
So hopefully all this found information is going to Ashley so she can,
Yes, so, as part of this site, as part of the redesign for the connection, I also included, Moles and Corbin to develop an as-built for the site based on the utility locate, so we'll have a nice, clean document for how the whole site is plumbed.
yeah.
Did they have that many colors?
Huh?
Did they have that many colors?
On the old stuff, is it dead or is it still in use?
So there is some asbestos concrete line that's abandoned in place in that area. It is probably a site that we need to try to possibly look at doing a replumbing and demoing of some of the abandoned in place infrastructure. And we'll definitely nowadays try to be a little bit more cognizant and take some of that stuff out rather than.
Yeah, that would be good.
But it is what it is, and it's something that we got to deal with. Obviously, we wouldn't tear up the AC line, Adam. I'm just saying.
Okay, I was like, you're stressing me out here, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, we shouldn't have a valve that still connects it to
I agree.
our system that's actually charged.
I agree.
So, that's one of our sites that we need to clean up, and those kind of aspects have been included in the scope of work for the new engineering services for the water resources. And so, it's not a number one priority for us, but hopefully in the next 5 years, I believe that it would be. We'll see though. Every day is a new day.
Yeah. It's just if we could clean them up while we're there,
Yes.
leave the asbestos in the ground maybe, break it.
On all of our new projects, we try to demo and remove stuff and just spend the money to get sites cleaned up.
Good. Okay, that's all of them? Same story?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess we're done. The next meeting is December 6th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one of the things that I think we need to, make a recommendation to move forward is just the RJU demo, the projects that you've been working on. And I know I talked to Ron on Friday, and you're just waiting to identify funding.
Yes, sir.
I think you put it on the agenda and, with the prices that you have, the council has several different options on how they could fund it, and Judy can make that recommendation.
Okay.
But I think we just need to get it done.
You got bids back on
Yes,
the
sir.
shop building
Yes,
at
sir.
least, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where'd they
You
come
have it on
in?
both buildings or just the water shop?
Just the water shop.
Where'd those come in at?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I hate to lie to you.
Between 50 and 75,
Probably, right in there.
hopefully.
How much?
He said, I don't remember the number. He
50 to
said
75?
50 and 75. I know there was one, I'm pretty sure that was lower than that, but
Oh, okay.
I don't want
That's
to,
good.
I don't want to speak out of turn and
Yeah.
say something.
Traco rental?
Yeah, track rental.
So Adam, did you include a line item to help me clean my office?
They're gonna need a bigger than track to clean that. We might as well put mine in there too.
But I think we need to get those moving forward, especially with the Wingfield master plan and where we're at, and, that stuff needs to get moving.
Should I go ahead and start trying to get some bids maybe on the annex also?
Yeah, I would get it all identified and
Okay.
Yeah, we can
I think
It's
once
gonna be
we
a
move out
while on that
of, move you guys over here, there's not gonna be much except for the courts. And I think, we can look at working with the courts.
You'd get a better price with doing both than doing one. So,
Okay.
that's what I was told before, is you price them together and
Oh,
you
yeah.
get a,
Yeah, mobilization, everything else. I mean,
yes,
To
save on
do
that.
that, we're gonna have to give Frank an office somewhere.
Yeah.
Or a court. He can come in here on days we're not here.
You're just running court 2 days out of the week and half a day on each one, from what I know. Is that right? Anybody know?
I'm not the clientele that go there.
I haven't got a ticket in a while, so, I haven't got a ticket in a while, so.
You haven't been on that side of the building?
If you'll drive real fast on the way home, you'll find
Find
out.
out.
So Adam, you might want to just go ahead now and do it for both buildings.
Will do.
You guys pretty well out except for the court?
No, we still, I mean, we've started packing some stuff up, moving some stuff out of there, but we'd have
You
to,
don't have any place to go either.
yeah, we'll be out in the streets.
Purchasing.
Yeah, well, that's, I think that's the plan is, the guys, when I move, when, myself and my admin move over here, the guys will move up to the purchasing warehouse.
Good.
And that'll be good, because we actually have storage up there also, we can utilize.
All right, see if I got anything else. I guess we're adjourned then.
Good meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Eby? Yeah, I'm still here. All righty, our chairman adjourned over here, so thank you for listening. We'll see you at 8 a.m. in the morning. Thank you, bye-bye. Thank you, John.